If suspending our disbelief and distracting us from real-world issues are all that movies were meant to do, then I'd say they're doing a pretty awesome job of it. Despite the tremendously impractical stuff that's constantly taking place in films, I'm all for celebrating unrealistic movies in an unironic way. So tag along as we ride through 30 hilarious moments from movies that we all know are never gonna happen in real life.
I'll do it myself.
When Thanos came along in the Age of Ultron and slipped on the Infinity Gauntlet, he became a global symbol of that one kid who single-handedly finishes a group project. While Thanos presented a perfectly good example of taking things in your own hands, other villains in pop culture have gone and not so subtly laid out their entire plan for the convenience of the audiences. We've learned over the years that there are better ways of cueing people in on how villainy works, but that didn't stop a few contemporary movies from still using this old trick. If you've seen a bird fly into a closed window or a kid bump into a glass door, you know how scary that experience can be, even without the glass breaking. But movies have shoved entire humans through walls of glass and had them come out on the other side without so much as grazing their arms. That's just not possible. When a sheet of glass gets smashed, it breaks into sharp splinters that can cut skin pretty badly, which is why commercial glass is always hardened and laminated. So it's extremely difficult to break that kind of sturdy glass with sheer human strength. And even if that did happen, it would be like getting stabbed with a bunch of tiny knives. If people were getting knocked out with one jab in real life like they do in movies, I'd say that no one would be safe. There's a bit of debate on just how much impact a single blow can have if done correctly, but most experts and professional boxers will argue that it's far from easy to punch someone and knock them cold. But it's the most common method of taking out antagonists in action movies without any chance of their return to the fight. An extremely good punch can still give the human body enough trauma to render it unconscious, but it only typically lasts for a minute or so. Movies not only defy this logic, but also apply it selectively to the bad guys, while the good ones keep fighting. Unless we're talking about the likes of John Wick, shooting scenes in action movies are far from realistic. Guns are wielded like they run on infinite magazines, lacking visible recoil, and never get the hero no matter what their range. Even if we excuse these details, shooting sprees in films virtually have zero legal consequences. Hacking is such an obscure and complicated art in real life that movies have no incentive for portraying it correctly. Films have had a recurring tendency of showing some sort of 3D interface on a monitor while a tech-savvy guy in glasses types away at the keyboard. And you know what he's up to immediately. Hacking into traffic systems has become more difficult over the years, even though it was once thought to be fairly easy. A Wired article from May, however, reported that a group of Dutch hackers had found a way to mess with traffic lights by using fake cyclists and spoofing traffic data. I bet that one took a little more than otherworldly typing skills. I've never gone into an action film expecting the protagonist to die in the end as far as I can remember. Movies have cemented this assurance. It's almost an unspoken rule that if the hero in a movie is confronted by 10 ripped bad guys, only 2 will attack them at once. Why? Because etiquette, I guess? It's always fun to see characters getting ready in breezy montages, but one thing that seems to evade every movie character is acne. High school dramas will have all kinds of issues ranging from love triangles to teenage pregnancies, but the hormones behind all of this will conveniently leave everyone's skin alone. Look, hyper-realistic movies are not everyone's cup of tea, but the way people meet and fall in love in rom-coms is insulting to everyone in the public sphere. Bumping into a stranger is more likely to break your iPhone than mend your broken heart, and you probably won't fall in love with a married man in a grocery store, unless you're Scarlett Johansson. This is not to say that I don't devour meet cutes, but they certainly play a hand in romanticizing the randomest aspects of public life. If you struggle to cope with the lows of your idyllic city life, the easiest fix is to abandon everything and take a road trip. Oh, and did I mention that you're a character in a lovely slice of life drama? Yeah, most real people in their 20s or 30s work hard for the day they can leave their jobs, families, and responsibilities behind and go off the radar and have a cathartic midweek vacation, which I suppose makes all the more reason for movie characters to let us do it through them vicariously. This is less likely to happen in recent movies, but luxurious living spaces have been a hallmark of dramas and rom-coms. Characters who aren't seen working multiple or high-paying jobs live all by themselves in sprawling apartments in the middle of a city. Even dorms in movies seem a little more swanky compared to the real deal at times. But if I'm forced to look at any dorm room other than mine, I guess I'd want it to be from a movie. The entertainment industry loves dumpsters a lot more than anyone would like to admit. Max's boyfriend literally lives in a dumpster in Two Broke Girls, but things are a little less creative on the film side of things. The most frequent use? Falling off a building. And that's awesome. We dig that for fictional characters. Real people, however, little more likely to get seriously injured from falling straight onto hard metal and various kinds of scrap. Dumpsters are not soft, garbagey airbags. There's a special incentive in films to move the plot along and get straight to the point, because the story can't go for more than a few hours. That's why movie characters have certain things a bit too easy, like always finding parking spaces, or switching on the news and never having to see commercials. But shooting a lock to break it open is neither possible nor convenient, and we've seen it happen anyways. Mythbusters tried this experiment with real locks, and were able to confirm that shooting does absolutely nothing to break even the simplest of locks. Hiding behind furniture to escape a shower of bullets would work in the rare instance that your couch is made of lead, but furniture doesn't act as a shield from bullets in the way that movies have shown time and again. Neither can real people dodge bullets while running the way movie characters do, by having each shot land right behind their feet. A 20-something-year-old who has never seen the inside of a gym sporting six-pack abs is realistically plausible only in movies. While every human body is different, and some people have an inherently lean physique, the toned abs we see in movies are a whole different ballgame, and certainly don't come by naturally. Especially in movies where characters don't seem to be following a fitness regime, taking supplements, or really taking care of themselves at all. Movies breaking certain logical rules to be easily understood is pretty justified, like when dialogues are heard clearly despite coming from characters lounging in a crowded bar. People buying things with cash without ever receiving change, however, is a more upsetting cinematic crime.
And this my hetero life made Silent Bob!
Hollywood films have normalized car explosions to the point that they're expected as common truths. Movies like Fast and Furious have gone as far as killing and unkilling main characters in car explosions. So what's their real deal? Well, cars can and do blow up in real life, but it's a rare occurrence. Imagine automobile companies pouring millions of dollars into research to make safer vehicles, only to have them explode at the drop of a hat. That's just not how it happens. Cars that do explode don't necessarily go all up in flame, and most car chases would probably end with the airbags getting deployed in the real world. Look, if action movies concern themselves with anatomical accuracy, they wouldn't be half as satisfying to watch. While seeing a character pick a whole person up by the throat sure adds to the thrill of watching action films, it would take an unbelievable amount of strength to do that in real life. It would probably also end up snapping that person's neck and killing them before they were even put back on the ground. In the exact opposite version of this case, movie characters who deliberately want to snap someone's neck do it by simply twisting their jaws until you hear a crunch. Necks are actually a lot more difficult to snap in reality, and jaw twists don't really do the job. Okay, we've all seen this one and wondered if real gym and yoga classes allow this. The main character and their buddy in this example go about discussing the protagonist's problems in vivid detail in the middle of a workout. Or worse, they gab away rudely while someone is conducting the class and promptly get reprimanded with a shush or something equally mild. Are you kidding me? Besides the fact that discussing the intimate details of your life in such a public setting would be downright embarrassing, why do it while exercising? Are you not suffering enough?
You sure that this is completely necessary?
Crashing through glass windows without a scratch is funny, but it doesn't even come close to sharing a pedestal with movie nightmares. That's right, I think it's a whole concept by itself because I don't think people sit straight up in bed gasping for air unless they were experiencing heartburn. In the realm of movies though, this action is casual film speak for nightmares. Courtrooms are far more dynamic places in movies than in the real world, where legal proceedings are bound by strict rules. Lawyers in movies are given excessive liberty to be as evocative as they please, without the other side objecting to it. A real courtroom, on the other hand, pretty dull, not really the place for emotionally charged speeches. Like most other things, life itself in movies is often a notch more splendid. Movie characters will walk into the kitchen with the most invigorating breakfast spread laid out and not care to give it a second look. The most striking detail is perhaps the huge, transparent jug of orange juice sitting next to the pancakes and whatnot, that the character will ignore to pick up a dry piece of toast. Medical procedurals make up a whole subset of television genres that are often very well fleshed out to mimic real hospital settings. Movies have been slightly less careful in that area, with things like patients shown to be yanking their IVs off their arms. Doing that in real life, however, might seriously damage your nerve and possibly even make you bleed out. If characters in movies seem like they have survived way too much, well, it's probably because they have. The human experience just doesn't get that high stakes, and we'd be permanently injured doing a lot of things that movie characters just do without any side effects, like being in the vicinity of a tremendous explosion, for example. Has very little payoff in movies, whereas exposure to that kind of stuff in reality could seriously damage your eardrums in the very least. When movie characters discover their passions while ignoring their job, or are just really bad at what they do, the story's usually about something else they're good at. So they're basically always on the rewarding end. Jobs in the real world may not come with that many privileges, and you're actually held extremely accountable for what you do at work all day. Movies like Julie and Julia represent the extreme end of this trope, where Julie unabashedly hates her job. When her boss finds out she hasn't been putting in the hours at work, he lets her off without a warning, despite knowing that she's lying and does not care about her job. Movie characters also leave their jobs with virtual impunity and have no concept of a resignation notice. Taking on superhero duties could never have been easier than it is today, but the flip side of this coin is that the superhero life comes with that tight, body-hugging superhero suit. Superhero suits are designed to look sleek for the camera, with no particular regard for comfort. A real-life superhero would suffocate in an impractical costume like that, or at least have some mobility compromised. Sound design is a crucial part of a film that is only occasionally vetted for scientific accuracy. Sounds are used ambiently in movies to reproduce a desired atmosphere and reinforce the dialogue or ongoing action of a film. Because these sounds are attached to fixed notions or conventions, films take the liberty of playing them up for the audience's benefit. That's the reason why shots and explosions are heard in space movies like Serenity, even if sounds do not travel through vacuums. Sounds like the screeching of tires on dirt tracks are also played up for dramatic effect, and very few productions like Firefly have notably kept the gunshots in space silent.
Mr. Reynolds, sir, I'm your wife.
Movies can be real flag bearers of optimism and would have you believe that normal people are capable of extraordinary achievements. This lofty dream often translates to characters in movies learning a new skill or making incremental progress with barely any difficulty. Elle's success with the SATs is too good to be true in Legally Blonde, and Robert De Niro records and edits a whole video in The Intern, despite having to call his 9-year-old grandson to find out what a USB cable is. Every character in an urban movie fashionably navigates city life and its bustling traffic as they go about their day, as most people in the English-speaking world do on a day-to-day basis. But when times get tough and the tension rises in films, these characters come dangerously close to becoming suburban roadkill. But no matter how many traffic rules movie pedestrians break, they always seem to get by unharmed. In fact, unless the story specifically calls for it, movie characters are always spared the tragic and extremely likely reality of getting hit by a car when they walk carelessly across the streets. Movies are driven by conventions or tropes that we more or less accept as true, even if they are exaggerations. And a very pervasive habit that films have formed lately is to portray children who are smart and emotionally intelligent beyond their age. Most families and rom-coms have children who are exceptionally witty, calm, and helpful. This may really have been the case for some of us as kids, and you should by all means think that about yourself. But children having the qualities of adults are more likely the rule in movies, and not the exception. There's a saying for when catastrophic situations get magically resolved in films and novels due to unexpected events, instead of the characters sorting things out on their own. It's an orchestrated plot device known as Deus Ex Machina, and storytellers who fall prey to it often use it as an easy cop-out for concluding a story. Films like Jurassic Park, Toy Story, The Return of the King, Superman, and Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets have all been accused of having Deus Ex Machina moments. Wow, that almost brings us to the end of today's video. But before you tap out, leave us a comment below about your favorite unrealistic moment, and make sure you subscribe to Screen Rant.